Hi, we're starting on Daf Dal Amud Aleph in Maseches Makkos by the Mishnah. Just 2 points of introduction. There are 3 types of punishments: paying money, getting lashes, and getting killed. There's a rule that you cannot get 2 different punishments for a crime. So, for example, you can't get the combination of death and lashes, death and pay money, or lashes and pay money. There are a couple of exceptions, though. Okay, our Mishnah begins. Mi'idin anu, we testify, bi'ish ploni, about a specific guy, shechayev l'chavera, that he owes his friend masayim zuz, 200 zuz. Let's say he borrowed 200 zuz. V'nimtzu zomimim, and then the Edom are found to be Edom zomimim. So until now we would have thought they each pay 100 zuz, because you split the money. However, Rav Meir says, lokim umishaman, not only do they pay, but they also get lashes. They each get 39 lashes, plus they pay each 100 zuz. Why? Shelo hashem, because it's not the same shame. Shame here means pasuk. Hamavian lidei makkos, which gives them makkos. Mevian, which brings them, or gives them, lidei tashluma, to pay. In other words, there's 2 separate psukim. The pasuk of kasher zamam tells us that they have to pay. They try to make him pay, they have to pay. But we also had earlier, v'tztikos hatzadik v'shius harasha v'hayat bin hakos harasha, and according to Rav Meir, that tells us that Edom Zomim also get makkos. So this is an exception to the normal rule. They're getting 2 punishments, lashes and payment. Divrei Rabbi Meir, that's the opinion of Rav Meir. The Gemara will discuss where he gets that from. The Chachamim Omrim, the Chachamim say like we thought until now. Kol ha-mishalem eino loka. Whoever pays doesn't get lashes. You can't get 2 different punishments, and therefore you pay. Now normally if you can't get 2 punishments, you get the stricter punishment, which would be makkos. But here the Torah writes the words yad liyad, which the Gemara understands to mean pay. So the Torah tells us straight out that Edom Zomim sometimes pay, and therefore, if there's a choice between paying and getting lashes, they pay. Next case. Mi'idin anu bi'ish ploni. We testify about a guy, shehu chayev malkos arbaim, that he deserves 40 lashes. Let's say he ate a piece of pig. He did some other lo say with an action. V'nimtzu zomim, and they're found to be zomim. Ulokim shmonim. So according to Rav Meir, they get 2 sets of makkos. They get a total of 80, which is really 78, 39 each time. Why? Mishum losana breacha et shaker, because they were over the losasei of don't testify as a false witness. Umishum, and because of asisim lo kasher zamam, because of kasher zamam. They were trying to give him makkos, they get makkos. Losana is the losasei, where the punishment is v'hitztikos hatzadik, v'yirshus harasha, v'haya bin hakos harasha. So basically, Rav Meir again is saying you get makkos for v'hitztikos hatzadik, and you also get makkos because of kasher zamam. Divi Rav Meir. Now here it's the same punishment twice. Everyone agrees you can get the same punishment twice, yet still the Chachamim say ein loken ela arba'im. You only get 39 lashes each. The Gemara at the bottom of Dalma Beis will explain why. So the Gemara says. So let's just summarize before we start. In the case of money, Rav Meir says you get lashes and you pay. The Chachamim say you just pay. In the case of lashes, the Rav Meir says you get 2 sets of lashes, and the Chachamim say you only get 1. The Gemara says, Bishlama, it makes it makes sense, l'Rabbanan, for the Chachamim, that you in the Reisha that you just pay, because the pasuk says kidei rishaso. It says according to his wickedness. Now that phrase wickedness is in singular form, and from it we learn the following rule. Kidei rishaso ksiv. It's written kidei rishaso. Mishum risha achas ata machayvo, which loosely means you can give a guy 1 type of punishment. V'yeta machayvo mishum shtei rishuyos. You cannot give a guy 2 different types of punishments. That's a rule, and based on that rule, the Chachamim say you can only get 1 punishment. Ella, but Rav Meir, my taima. What's Rav Meir's reasoning for giving 2 different punishments, paying and lashes. We have a rule that you can't do that. Amar Ula, so Ula said, he learned that this is an exception. Gamar mi motzi shemra, he learned from motzi shemra. Now motzi shemra is a case where a guy gets married, and then he slanders his wife and says that she committed adultery after the kiddushin, which is the first stage of marriage, before the nisuin, before the second stage of marriage. He brings witnesses, they're proven to be liars, and the punishment, the Torah says, is he has to pay his father-in-law and get lashes. So that's clearly an exception to the normal rule. The Torah says you get two punishments. You pay, you get lashes. So Ula says that Rameir learned from there that you could always pay and get lashes. In other words, Rav Meir says the rule that you can't get two different types of punishments is by death and money or death and lashes. But we learn from Motzi Shemra that when it comes to money and lashes, you could get two different types of punishments. Ma, just like Motzi Shemra, Loke Umashalem, just like the Motzi Shemra, the slanderer, gets lashes and he pays. Af, so too, Kol, all cases like that, meaning where it makes sense to have a money punishment and lashes, Loka Mashalom, he gets both punishments. The Gemara says, 1 second. How could you learn from Motzi Shemra? Ma Motzi Shemra, how could you learn from Motzi Shemra? Because Motzi Shemra has a strictness, and therefore you can't learn from it. What's the strictness? Shekain Kenas, because it's a fine. The payment is a fine. A fine means you're paying more than the damage that you caused. Now, if we want to learn from Motzi Shemra, we could only learn to things like Motzi Shemra. Since Motzi Shemra has a strictness, we could only learn to things that have that same strictness. So the Gemara says, that's not a problem. Savalak Rabbi Kiva. Rab Meir holds like his Rebbe, Rabbi Kiva. Amar, who said on Beis Mur Beis, Edom Zomim Knasu. Kasher Zamim is also a Knas. And therefore, even though Motzi Shemra is a Knas, since Edom Zomim is also a Knas, we can learn from Motzi Shemra that just like you get lashes and you pay, so too by Edom Zomim. Now, why do the Chachamim say you can't get lashes and pay? Because they hold that Edom Zomim, Kasher Zomim is not a Knas. And since it's not a Knas, you can't learn it from Motzi Shemra. Ika demasni lahadu ula aha. There are some people who say that when Ula said he learns from Motzi Shemra, he was talking about a totally different topic. What's the topic? The following brisa. Titania, as we learned in a brisa, it says in the pasuk, Lo so siru mimenu, don't leave over from it, it meaning the Karban Pesach, ad boker, until the morning. You're not allowed to leave it overnight. You have to finish it. V'hanosir menu, but if anything was left over, if you did the losas and you left it over, the pasuk continues and says, V'hanosir menu ad boker, if you leave it over till morning, it says burn it. So there's this rule, which is, if there's a los asay, and then afterwards there's an asay that you could do, but only after you do the los asay, such as over here. Don't leave it over, and if you do, burn it, then you don't get lashes for the los asay. That's called a lav hanitzach la asay. So ba kasuv litain asay, the Brisa says, the pasuk brought an asay, achar los asay, after the los asay. The asay is burn it. The los asay is don't leave it over. Lomar, to tell you, she'ein loken alav, that you don't get lashes if you leave it over. Div Rab Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, I mean. That's the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Rabbi Kiva says, Lomen Hashem who's there. That's not the reason. Elam Mishum Davle Lav Shem B'Maisa. There's a simpler reason. It's a lav she'ein b'maisa. It's a lav. It's a los asay without an action. Leaving over a Karban Pesach, you're not doing anything. And the rule is, v'chol lav she'ein b'maisa, as we learned in Beis Mur Beis, any los asay without an action, ein lokon alav, you don't get lashes. That's the end of the brisa. Now, why didn't Rabbi Yehuda use that same reason? Why do you have to come up with the reason that it's a los asay followed by an asay to explain why you don't get lashes? Why don't you just learn it from the fact that the los asay doesn't involve an action? So the Gemara says, Mechlav, from this we can deduce, the Rabbi Yehuda savar, that Rabbi Yehuda holds, lav she'ein b'maisa lokon alav, that a lav without an action actually does get makkos. And therefore you would have gotten makkos for leaving over the Karban Pesach. And the only reason you don't is because there's an assay afterwards. So minale. So where did Rabbi Yehuda learn that rule that a lav she'en b'maisa gets makkos? Most people hold it doesn't. Amar Ula. Ula says Gamar mimotzi shemra. So according to this version, Ula said he learned from Motzi Shemra. In the case of Motzi Shemra, there's just talking. He's slandering his wife. Just talking. Yet he gets makkos. Ma Motzi Shemra, just like Motzi Shemra. Lav she'en b'maisa. It's a losa say without an action. Lokan alav, yet the Torah says he gets lashes. Af, so too, kol lav she'en b'maisa. Lokan alav. So too, every losa say without an action gets makkos. That's what Rabbi Yehuda learns. So the Gemara asks, Ma'ala Motzi Shemer Shekain Loka Umashalim. How could you learn from Motzi Shemer to all other losa says without an action? Motzi Shemer has a strictness that has two punishments. It gets lashes and it pays. You can't learn from it if it has a strictness. So the Gemara says, good question. Ella, rather, Rabbi Yehuda learned from somewhere else. Amar Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says, Gomer Edom Zomim. Rabbi Yehuda learned from Edom Zomim. Ma Edom Zomim, just like Edom Zomim is a lav she'en b'maisa. It's a losa say without an action. They're just talking. Lokan 11. Yet we know they get makkos sometimes. Af kol lav she'en b'maisa. So to every lav without an action, Lokan 11 gets makkos. So the Gemara knocks that out too. Ma la Edom Zomim shekain ein tzrich nasra. How could you learn from Edom Zomim? Edom Zomim is the one of the two cases where you don't need to warn the guy before he does the crime in order to punish him. Normally, in order to punish a murderer, you have to warn him before he murders, or before a guy steals, you have to warn him in order to make him get a punishment. Here, Edom Zomim do not need a warning, and therefore, we're super strict with Edom Zomim. You can't learn from Edom Zomim. Okay, we're going to stop here. I hope that helped. You might have to listen a few times, because it's probably a little fast.